shaking, everyone. Welcome back to Mindset Motivated with Sifu Zack George and yours truly, Robert Bruski, the podcast where we talk about all things mindset and motivation related. This is season 2, and right now we are going to start a 2-episode set on the subject of addiction. Addiction. So this episode and the next one are all going to be about addiction, okay? So let's start by talking about what is addiction.
Well, addiction, we classify as something where we are unable. So if I'm trying to figure out whether I'm addicted to something, a few questions are, am I able to limit myself? When I set out, let's say it's beer. If I say I'm going to go out and I'm going to have 2 beers, am I able to do that safely? Am I able to monitor it or control it, right? Mm-hmm. The second part of addiction is, do I continue on the path despite negative consequences that have happened, right? Whether they be health, relationship, financial, legal, right?
Yep.
And the third is, have I tried to stop and not been able to?
Okay.
And if you answered yes and you checked yes to all 3 of those boxes, you might be suffering from addiction.
Okay, so let's repeat them again. What were they? Number 1.
First one is, are you able to limit yourself or control how much or how little of whatever you're doing? And this could be shopping, could be sex, could be gambling, could be drugs and alcohol, it could be anger, right?
Yep. Okay. Number 2?
Number 2, do I continue on the path despite negative outcomes, financial, health-wise, relationships? And number 3 is, have I said I'm going to stop and then return back to it?
Okay. Just before we move on, does addiction have to be something that has a negative consequence? And I'm just thinking outside the box here. Let's say I was addicted to the sun. Everyone says the sun is awesome, but eventually it could cause skin cancer,
and you know
right?
what? That comes with working out.
Yep.
That comes with, if I'm addicted to knitting, eventually my fingers are going to bleed. Do I continue to knit after my fingers bleed? Right? And that's kind of what we're looking at. And then it comes out to the isms.
Okay.
Right? So instead of, you use alcohol again, am I just a heavy drinker or am I an alcoholic?
Okay.
Right? And there's an ism, alcoholism, right?
Yep.
And an ism carries on to a lot of addiction. So that means even when I take that substance away, does it surface somewhere else?
Do I
try to control people, places, things, outcomes? Do I build things up? And then when they all go wrong, do I go back, to what it is? And addiction is created through that instant gratification, right? If I don't think that I'm getting what I deserve, that is one thing that will always give me it. Whether even it's scrolling through the phone, could be your addiction, right?
Yeah.
Right away, I'm hitting that instant, my friend Dr. Bob there, it's pursuing instant gratification, is addiction and gives somebody control all the time, and if you're in a relationship with somebody that has alcoholism, it's actually a family illness. So everybody then becomes sick. So now you are lying about why this person is acting this way. You are doing things that you wouldn't necessarily do and able to, and that's, then you become sick too, just like the person that's doing it. Right?
Yeah, so. And I think just for clarity on this particular episode, in that we're talking about what is addiction, I think, and I would wager to think that you would agree that it's important to understand what is addiction. Mm-hmm. Because I get the feeling that a lot of people who have an addiction won't recognize it. They won't say, I'm
well, you
not
know what?
addicted.
It's not measured by how much you do or how much it's measured by, the effect and the effect that it has on you and the way that you try to manipulate things to have that happen for you.
Yeah.
Right? are you lying to people? Are you going behind people's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And these are all things that kind of point to that arrow.
Yeah, so then when it comes to understanding addiction, and you know what it is, and you know how to isolate it, I don't want to get into how to deal with it, because that's the next episode, right?
That's right.
But is it possible for somebody to see addiction in somebody else? Or is it something that you only personally would be able to find?
Usually by the time other people are noticing it, it's pretty far gone at that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like usually the problems have already started to surface. And I mean, addiction is ultimately, so it's driven by selfishness and self-centeredness and self-pity.
Yeah.
And they say it's driven by 100 different forms of fear, self-delusion, right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So you may not even realize, I know with alcohol is pernicious.
Okay.
Pernicious means,
good use of words.
Pernicious means that it's harmful, but subtly and slowly.
Okay.
Okay, so that means it kills you, but you don't even know it's happening.
Yeah.
So, others may be able to look in and see, and by the time you're ready to get help, you're probably going to have to be defeated by it. Others will try to jump in, but, if you're not truly ready, and addiction's tough, because if you don't see a problem with something, why would you stop it? Usually addiction is a symptom of a greater problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, it's not the substance is not the problem, right? It's the symptom of the problem. And the problem, like I said, it's selfishness and self-centeredness, self-seeking, those types of things. It's mostly in self. So when we're dealing with addiction, usually people that are suffering from addiction will tend to isolate, right?
Yeah.
They'll start to cut off friends. They'll start to eliminate themselves.
Unless they're addicted to power and praise.
Yeah.
Because that can happen too, right?
That's right.
Because there's chemical addiction. Like
That's
you could be addicted to nicotine.
But anybody that comes in the way of that, they will cut off and they will cut out of their life.
Yep.
So for instance, somebody that makes them look bad or somebody that calls them on their BS, they will have nothing to do with you, right? Just like if you're addicted to anything, anybody that comes between that, it becomes, if you're suffering from addiction, you have obsessive thinking. So you're trying to manipulate every single little thing just to help you to get what you want. And the reason we're talking about addiction is because it surfaced a lot throughout the past 3 lockdowns with people. Overdoses are higher than ever. Alcohol addiction went way up, and people had nothing to do except sit in their own skin. And a lot of people, that's a difficult thing to do. Sometimes when it's the quietest, it becomes the noisiest, and
tell me about it.
So we hope that we can, bring some awareness to it.
Yep.
And wherever you're at. You don't have to be in addiction or out of addiction or anything to listen to this episode. Sometimes listening to this can, illuminate or bring light or give you a little bit more understanding. Who knows, maybe later on in your life, you'll be affected by somebody with addiction. Hopefully not. Or you'll wonder it about yourself. Maybe you're worried about, a certain thing or substance that you're doing that's causing harm that you're not sure about. And maybe this episode help point you in the right direction.
Yeah, well, that's why we split it up into 2 episodes, because right now we're just defining addiction. But on the subject of being mindset motivated, next episode we're going to talk about the mindset and the motivation behind getting out of addiction, right?
That's right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Mindset Motivated podcast with Zack George, Robert Bruski. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and share. And until next time, stay frosty.
Stay hungry.